Right, we are continuing the class, Chatzar Yosef. It's been a while, but by popular demand, we must continue. I also have a few ideas in mind. I want to start some other video series soon, B'ezrat Hashem, with God's help. I need a nice whiteboard. I have some other ideas, not related to this, more basic stuff, which is very important, B'ezrat Hashem. I think I want to do that eventually. But right now, let's continue where we left off in the Chatzar Yosef, this very special book, page 242. We were in chapter 15, section 3. Please look at the previous videos, but I will catch you up. We're talking about a place called Beitar, a city called Beitar, which was near Yerushalayim, and it was a very glorious city, Jewish settlement, but it was destroyed by the Romans in war about 60 to 100 years, depending on which historian you ask, after the destruction of the second Beit HaMikdash. And we are going through that account in the Gemara Masechet Gittin, and we are in the last section about that, section 3, right here. Let's read the Gemara in English, page 242 on the bottom. It was taught in the Braita the following thing. Now again, we're going to be tying a lot of themes about the city, about the people there, and what we said about them. So you really have to see the previous videos, of chapter 15, sections 1 and 2. There were several, because they're long. So please look there to get a full scope of what we're doing now. The Gemara says over here, it was taught in the Braita the following thing. Rabbi Eliezer the Great, Rabbi Eliezer Gadol, they call him. He says the following thing, that near Beitar there are two rivers, the two rivers are located in Bikat Yadayim, which in Hebrew means the valley of the hands. Literally, the Yadayim valley. Right, valley is between, it's a low area between two high areas. And one of these rivers flows one way and one flows the other way. That's what Rabbi Eliezer said. That Beitar was located near the Valley of the Hands, which is between two rivers, and one river is flowing this way, one river is flowing the other way. And the Chachamim measured in the aftermath of this war, after the people of Beitar were absolutely destroyed and massacred by the Romans, that these rivers were 2 parts water to 1 part blood. Whose blood? The people of Beitar. Meaning he's trying to paint a picture to you how severe the bloodshed was to the people of Beitar by the Romans. That the rivers that were nearby became 1/3 essentially blood. It was also taught in the Braita that for 7 years the idol worshippers that lived nearby, pagans, non-Jews, harvested their vineyards whose soil had been soaked with the blood of Israel, of these people, without requiring any additional fertilizer. Right? There's a lot of nutrients in blood. There's so much blood that soaked the earth, it soaked the river, and the river, I guess, irrigated into these nearby vineyards, that no other fertilizer was needed, because there was all the nutrients were there. Unbelievable thing, amazing thing. What is this? Is this metaphor? Is this fact? What is the Gemara trying to teach us by telling us these two braitot? That is our mission right now on this section. Shana Chatzar question section. Why was the valley named the Valley of Hands? What is the significance of the rivers flowing in opposite directions? What does that mean? What does it mean that the Chachamim measured the ratio of water to blood? How were they able to make such a measurement, first of all? What kind of dilution tools and mechanisms did they have to make such a precise measurement? I don't understand. Were they chemists? How did this work? What is the significance of the ratio of blood to water being 1:2 as well? 1:2, of course, if you don't know math. If I say something 1:2, that means there's 3 total parts, right? Fractions, 1/3 to 2/3. Right, okay. What is meant by the blood of the people of Beitar fertilizing the land of the pagans? And why did it specifically do so? Why was it for a 7-year period? What does it mean? Was it really 7 years? Is that symbolic of something as well? Of course, we know by now that the Chachamim in the Gemara speak in code many times when it comes to Agadta, and our job is to decode those messages. Let's see the Amudei Chatzar. The Maharal comes along and he says the following. It seems that once the heavenly decree was made to spill the blood of the people of Beitar like water, right? That's actually a term you find in Tanakh a lot. that their blood spilled like water, flowed like, the word is shafchu. spilled like water. So once this decree was made in heaven, says the Maharal, the blood actually became water, in the sense that when their blood was spilled into the river, it increased the volume of the water by 1/3, thereby increasing the power and flow of the water.
That's how they measured. They had marks where it was.
You're saying they had marks in the levels of the river, and by the river bank, and they saw, okay, now this mark is about 33% higher. Okay, that's a nice theory. The Torah teaches that the blood blood is the nefesh. Adam hu nefesh, it says in the Torah. This is in the Devarim 12:23. Adam hu nefesh. The blood is the nefesh. Nefesh means the basic lifeblood energy of anything alive, human and animal alike. They have a nefesh as well. And the soul contains, this part of the soul called the nefesh, contains the tzura. The tzura, we explained, is a term that means literally shape, or it means in the inner form. Okay, we spoke about this in a previous section, chapter 6. It means the inner form of a living being, the living energy, so to speak.
Yes, they're talking about DNA in those days.
Perhaps he's talking about DNA. Interesting. Okay, good idea. But says the Maharal further, water, on the other hand, is the quintessential example of that which has no intrinsic form, since it always takes the shape of the vessel that it is inside of. It died? Okay. We're running on low battery, so I hope we don't get cut off. But I want to just at least finish the commentary here, and then next week we'll do the Chatzar Yosef. So water, says the Maharal, water takes the form of whatever goes inside. So it has no form of its own, it has no tzura, right? Thus, when the blood spills like water, it means that the blood becomes like water in the sense that it loses its form. And so it strengthens the power of the water, which is its opposite. Blood, again, is something that fuels life. Life has a tzura, an inner shape. Water is the opposite, has no tzura. It takes the shape whatever it goes into. That's the concept he's saying here. So the volume of blood was so great that it increased the volume of water, thereby increasing the power of the water and what it represents. Once the blood was decreed to be spilled as such, it started behaving like something similar in appearance to blood that also spills. What is that? Wine. Since blood is similar to wine, as it says in the verse, and you shall drink grape blood wine. This is a verse in Devarim, in Ha'azinu, where it compares the wine to blood. Thus, since it acted like wine, it acts like fertilizer. It acted like fertilizer for the soil of the pagans' vineyards. So wine could also be good fertilizer, apparently. And that's how he explains this Gemara. The name Valley of Hands that the Gemara spoke about reveals the following, says the Maharal. There are places in the world which are more precocious, which means?
Which means
more.
The child is precocious, he's very smart and unusual in
Right.
behavior.
For certain things rather than others. The Valley of Hands is auspicious for the manifestation of the attribute of din, midat ad-din, of judgment from Hashem. Why? Anytime there's a reference to the word yad, hand, especially when it says in the Torah anywhere yad Hashem, the hand of God, the hand of Hashem, it is referring to Hashem's attribute of din, of judgment, of strict judgment. The two rivers, one flowing one way and one flowing the other way, refers to two hands, so to speak. Thus, in that very place near Beitar, the attribute of din, judgment, had a strong influence. That's what led to, accepted, so to speak, sealed the fate of the people, and it has strong influence through the nation of Edom, as it is written, the hands are the hands of Esav. Edom is another term for Rome, and Rome is a descendant of Esav. Esav, of course, the brother of Yaakov, and there's a famous pasuk that says Yadayim de Esav, which is going to be in 2 weeks, by the way, from this week's parsha. Yadayim de Esav, that his hands, the concept of hands is connected in Torah to Esav, and hands is violence, so to speak, and judgment. So that's how he connects everything there. And of course, it was made by the Romans, who are descendants of Esav. The extra third of volume added by the blood that went into the river, to the water, produced 3/3 of liquid total, right? conceptually. Thus, along with the two opposite flowing rivers, this, along with the two opposite flowing rivers, symbolize the triplet of the right hand, the left hand, and the torso. The torso, of course, of the body is represented by the blood, and the rivers are the hands. That's what the Maharal says. He's talking about what triplet? He's talking about the triplet of the three attributes that we spoke about extensively in this chapter of Chesed, Din, and Rachamim. The right hand, the left hand, and the torso. Chesed is giving, Din is what we're talking about now, holding back, the left hand, judgment, and the middle is the perfect balance, and they always work together in basically everything in life. So he's saying that is what this particular place the Gemara is talking about is symbolizing. Two rivers flowing in opposite directions. Why? Because Chesed and Din are very opposite of each other, the complete opposite of each other. Those are the two hands. And he's saying that the third attribute, which is Tiferet, the balance of the hands, the middle of that, middle between those, is represented by the blood. And we're going to explain later how is that so, because what is the main organ of the torso, the visceral organs that keeps everything else running? The heart. And what's the heart's job? To pump blood. So that is the Maharal. I want to just read the Ben Yehuda and call it a day for today. The ratio of the 1 part blood to 2 parts water, says the Ben Yehuda, in the rivers, hints that the blood of Beitar was that of Torah-learned people, he says. They were special people. Since Torah scholars, such as those part of the Sanhedrin, those that take part of the Sanhedrin of being judges, they are compared to diluted wine of 1 part wine to 2 parts water. Okay, look at number 9. There were 70 judges on the panel of the Sanhedrin, the great rabbinical group of rabbis in the times of Bet Midrash. And if any of them had to step out for any reason, they had to make sure that there were at least a whole third of them remaining, which was 23 judges. 23 times 3 is 69. So that to be at least 23 that remained on the panel. Okay. When Israel is settled in its own land, says the Ben Yehuda, they were crowned with the 39 lights, which would correspond to the 39 total letters present when summing up the 4 different versions of the Milui Gematria of Hashem's name of essence. Okay, we just said a lot there, it's a mouthful. So basically, what he's saying is, when you take Hashem's name, Yud and then Hey, and then Vav and then Hey, there's something called Milui. Milui means you can spell out each one of those letters. Yud is Yud, Vav, Dalet. Hey, there's a few ways to spell it. Hey, Hey, or Hey, Yud. Vav, there's a few ways to spell it. Vav, 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 Yud, Vav, or Vav, Aleph, Vav. And then Hey again, there's 2 ways to spell it. Hey, Hey, or Hey, Aleph. Or even Hey Yud, I'm sorry. Hey Yud is another way to spell. No, they don't use Hey Yud. They use Hey Yud? They do use Hey Yud. I apologize. Hey Yud as well. So there's a few ways to spell Hey and Vav. And basically, when you combine the different permutations of that, spelling out Hashem's name with the Heys and the Vavs in different ways, you get 4 ways to spell it, according to Kabbalah. And each one of those add up. When you add up all the letters to spell those names, those opened up names, they give you a numerical figure, a gematria. Those 4 numbers are 72, 63, 45, and 52. So it's called a name of 72, it's called a name of 63, a name of 45, a name of 52, depending on spelling those letters differently, okay? And each one of those corresponds to one of the 4 worlds, and there's a very deep kavanot that you can have about all these 4 names, which I don't want to get into now, but that's what he's referring to now, the Ben Yehuda. And he says that when you sum up all the letters that takes to spell it, it's 39 letters. And that 39, after the destruction of Beitar, these 39 lights, 39 letters of God, spelling out His name, they're represented as Tal. Tal means do. Tal is Taf Lamed, also 39. And this was converted into Zevel. Zevel means fertilizer. Also Gematria, 39. So do means something of blessing. They were people of blessing. They were Torah-learned people. But after all this, they became Zevel, fertilizer, for the pagan vineyards. Thus their blood was converted into fertilizer for their enemies. It lasted for 7 years, says the Gemara, corresponding to the disgrace that the Torah had endured during this ordeal. Since the blood that was of the Torah scholars, as mentioned above, it was special blood, holy blood, and the Torah is made up of 7 books. Did you know that? Not 5, it's 7 books. Why? Because the 4th book, Bamidbar, has 2 lines within it that are closed off by 2 backwards nuns, if you look at the actual Sefer Torah, which is considered a book by itself, in Parashat Beha'alotecha. Check over there. So when you take the 4th book, basically it's actually 3. We take those 2 verses out, you have the first part of the book, the 2 verses, and the rest of the part of the book. So that's 3 over there, added up with the other 4, 7 total. So it's actually 7 books of Torah. Okay? So the Torah is made of 7 books, as is written regarding Torah. With all forms of wisdom did she build her house. She carved out its 7 pillars. This is a verse in Mishle. 7 pillars, 7 books of Torah, so to speak. These 7 pillars refer to the 7 books of the Chumash, and therefore he's saying, why was it 7 years that they acted as fertilizer? To hint that they were Torah learned people. Again, because the Torah is connected to 7, because Torah is made of 7 books. That's the Ben Yehoyada that says about this Gemara. Next week, B'ezrat Hashem, with a better battery and a longer battery, we will do the Chatzar Yosef.